Welcome everyone to LinkedIn for Careers, and great to have you with us. My name is Sue Ellson. I'm an independent LinkedIn specialist. I joined LinkedIn on the 21st of December 2003 and started consulting on it in 2008. My contact details are there, LinkedIn. Check out all the other Careers Week event. This is the event you've registered for, and if you're watching the recording, welcome as well. More than happy to answer questions during the session as well as afterward. Yes, you don't need to have your camera on at all. I'm not one of those Zoom people who says everybody has their camera on. No, 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 you can leave it off for the whole time. But I do welcome conversations in the chat because I do keep a very close eye on that. I presume you can see my screen. If there's any technical issues, again, please let me know in the chat. Tiny bit of a career background on me whilst we're waiting for the other people to arrive. My first job started 6 days after my last Year 12 exam at Westpac in Adelaide, and I worked in the bank in a variety of different roles over 11 years until I had the opportunity to move to Melbourne, got a job, found out I was pregnant, got sacked, and basically haven't had a real job since 1994. So I've done lots of really interesting things over many, many years. My first website, newcomersnetwork.com, went online in 2001. And as I said, I joined LinkedIn in 2003. I'm a member of the Golden Key International Honour Society, which is the top 15% of undergrads. I did my entire degree by correspondence. A member of the Melbourne Press Club, Career Development Association of Australia, Australian Society of Authors, Writers Victoria, Educate Plus, which is for advancement professionals in schools. If Kate's here tonight, she can tell you more about that. And also the Society of Women Writers, because they put a fabulous profile page on their website when you join them, which I think is a terrific bonus. The best year of my life was 2016 because I wrote 3 80,000 word books in 9 months, and boy did I enjoy that process. It was amazing. The best day of my life was in 2019 when I launched my Gigsters book, and my son was the MC and my daughter was the interviewer, and everybody gasped when I introduced them as my children. They couldn't believe it. And of course, my most recent book, LinkedIn for Me and My Career or Business. Some of you who've booked for this event have already purchased that. You can get a digital copy for $9.95 or the paperback version posted to you for $39.99 via my website. My website has heaps and heaps of free information, and you can also check out my LinkedIn profile. I've tried to connect with as many of you as possible, but when you register via Eventbrite, I don't get your LinkedIn details. So if I haven't connected with you and you'd like to connect, please feel free to do so. Now, what I do on every session I run online is I make myself accountable and I share my social media numbers. Now you can see here, it's pretty obvious LinkedIn is my favorite platform. So these numbers were collected yesterday, and you are welcome to follow me on any of your favorite social platforms or subscribe to the LinkedIn newsletter or my email newsletter if you prefer. So that QR code just goes to the contact page on my website. So we're here for National Careers Week. Please check out careersweek.com.au for lots of other amazing events. Most of them are free or low cost and will definitely educate you. I go to between 1 and 4 events every week since finishing my degree because I'm a bit of a learning junkie. I love learning, and that keeps me up to date with all sorts of things. So tonight, what we're going to be going through is a lot of content that I normally do in a 2-hour workshop. So it's only slightly edited from that. So if you feel it's going a bit fast, it's because it probably is, but you can watch the recording because, you know, we're keeping that on file. So don't rush ahead. If you want to do some things during the workshop, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine. But please, under no circumstances, remove any email addresses from your LinkedIn account. You need to keep them in there, and I'll be explaining why. So don't take any old email addresses off your account. Keep them all on there. I will also be going through my setup, shine and surprise methodology, which is in my book, and giving you some clues on what to do next. There will also be evaluation that you can complete to give me some clues as to what else you might like me to run in the future, as well as opportunity to have questions and answers at the end, but also during. So please feel free to interrupt at any time. So this is the individual items we're going to be going through. So most people do not fill in their LinkedIn profile. It's a challenge that I face as a LinkedIn specialist, because everybody says, oh, I don't want to fill it in, and it's too much information. But our whole goal, if for LinkedIn for Careers, is to appear in search results. So whether that's a first job, whether it's your next job, whether you're trying to get a promotion, whatever it is, the more complete your LinkedIn profile is, the more likely you are to secure an aligned opportunity. So please keep that in mind. Once you've filled in your profile and it looks fabulously shiny, you can then go ahead and do some of these other things. If you do this stuff before you've updated your LinkedIn profile, you're not going to get the same level of results out of it. So this is the evaluation form. If you have to leave early, please scan this QR code now. It's a very simple survey, completely anonymous. You're at the LinkedIn for Careers session and you just pop in what was most helpful, what you'll do next, what you'd like to learn next, and any other helpful comments or advice. And if you want me to respond, you can pop your email in. But I encourage you to look for at least 3 things that you can do so that you've got value out of spending this time with me tonight. And there's about 10 hours of work to put this together, because I have to create the event, put it online, promote it everywhere, handle the enrollments, copy paste all the email addresses out of LinkedIn so I can email you the Zoom link and connect with you all on LinkedIn and do the follow-up and put it on the website. I mean, add the recording to YouTube, prepare the slides. Yeah, it's a lot of work. And so if you have a few moments just to write a Google review or a Facebook review, I really love Facebook reviews because I'd like to build up the number of those. Or if you just want to pop one on my website because you don't have to log in, you can be completely anonymous, or just email me. I'll be happy with anything that just says thank you. And of course, you can still follow me on socials as well. So let's start. The history of LinkedIn, launched in May 2003. It was acquired by Microsoft in 2016, one of the biggest corporate acquisitions in history. It was originally only resume and jobs platform, but it's moved to a skills-based platform. So we have to be able to demonstrate to people looking for us and our capabilities what skills we have to offer. So back in the early days of my career, your career depended on what sexy job title you had and what sexy company you worked for. Now, decision makers are looking for somebody who can rock up on day one and add some form of value in the form of those skills, and with any luck also be a cultural fit. Now, it's also way more than just a profile. It is a network. So my 3 favorite words are from now on. I encourage you to connect with everyone you meet personally and professionally on LinkedIn, because a number of my clients have got jobs through friends and acquaintances, or someone in London got a job via a contact in Melbourne, like random things. And also an incredible research tool. So back in the day, you couldn't get near any CEO. There was a very efficient secretary blocking all access to the senior decision makers. But now we can message them direct on LinkedIn. It's super exciting. And there's over 17 million members in Australia on LinkedIn. Now, I would be remiss if I did not encourage you to have a look at the LinkedIn user agreement. Section 8 is the do's and don'ts of LinkedIn. It will only take you 2 minutes to read that. It's not difficult to understand, but it is important that you do understand it, because if you go against the LinkedIn user agreement, they will delete your profile without warning and you cannot get it back. So I don't want that to happen to you. On the same page as the LinkedIn user agreement, there is the LinkedIn professional community policies. So you can check those out. It gives you some great tips, and there's some other really interesting stats about LinkedIn. So what we're going to do first of all is, if you've got your laptop or desktop computer on right now, I'm going to suggest you find out when you joined LinkedIn. And if you would like to share the date in the chat. That means I know you were able to do it, or you can just put Y in the chat if you can do it. So what you need to do is visit your LinkedIn profile, and that's where you get all the details of everything you've put into LinkedIn. And at the top of the screen, there will be either a resources button or a more button or three dots. So whichever one it is, it'll be one of those three, resources, more, or three dots. When you click on that, you'll get this choice and it says about this member. And then you can find out when you joined. Now, this is a really handy tip because if somebody reaches out to connect with you and you don't know them, you could have a look at this date. And if it was May 2026, it's much more likely that it was a fraudulent person than a genuine person. If it was May 2021, you could probably say, well, yeah, it's reasonably likely to be this person. So if you'd like to look up the date you joined, feel free to do so. If you'd like to share it in the chat, feel free to do that as well. Now, the next thing that LinkedIn is trying to do, well done, Marley, December 2009, really early adopter there, fantastic. Verification. So LinkedIn would like us all to be real people on LinkedIn, not fake. And so they've got this little verification badge. And what they want us to do is use a third-party app called Persona to scan our passport to be verified. And I did this because I have to battle test everything for my students and clients, and it freaked me out because not only do I not like all my biometric data being handed over to a third party, but it changed the name of my LinkedIn profile to Sue Ellson, which is my birth name, not what I'm known as. So it was bad for two reasons. So that's why I like to show you. You can just leave it as, look, I joined in Marley's case 2009. I'm not going to worry about verification. There is another way to verify you, which is via your work email address, which is why I recommend that you add every email address you've ever had to the back end of your LinkedIn account so that you can be verified that way. So I'm about to get a new email address at Box Hill Institute because I'm going to be teaching for them, and I will add that to my account, and that will be another verification on my account. So I don't recommend the passport for you. Now, the next thing that I do before I work with any client, thank you, Rebecca, January 2010, well done, is back up your profile. Now, there's two ways to back up your LinkedIn profile, and I'm going to show you how to do this, and these instructions are there if you want to do it later and you don't have time to do it now. So I'm just going to use my internet browser, and I'm using Microsoft Edge. Now, before we do this, I change your internet browser settings. So somewhere on your internet browser, there'll be three dots and it'll bring up a menu. So you left click on that. So you can just listen to me, via voice, and you should be able to do this on the same screen as Zoom, okay? So you click on the three dots and somewhere on your menu, whether it's Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Safari, there'll be something about settings. So you left click on that. And then what you'll do is you'll see that there's a setting for downloads. So we left click on that. And what you would do is you would switch it from not asking where you to save each file before downloading to ask me where to save the file. So this way, everything just doesn't end up in your downloads folder. You get to rename it and save it in the location you would like on your device. So now we go back to your LinkedIn profile. And again, exact same button we clicked before, resources, more, or the three dots, left click on that, and we choose save to PDF. And the reason we do this is because if you want to go back to what you'd written here, if you don't have any record of it, you're not going to be able to do that. And wouldn't you know it, for some reason it's not working tonight. We'll try again. I'll refresh my screen. And this happens with LinkedIn too. Don't assume you've done something wrong. So we'll choose save to PDF again. Right, now I choose Save As. Now the way I like to save it on my device is I like to put today's date back to front, so it sorts it in reverse date order. So that's why I put the date back to front to begin with. And then I put my first name dash last name dash LinkedIn dash profile dash before dash edits. And that way I can see this is what my LinkedIn profile looked like before I made any changes. So nice and straightforward. And then, of course, after you've made lots of changes, you would save it to PDF again. Now, if we open that file, it doesn't include everything. So it's ridiculously long, so please don't print mine out. But when you get right down to the education section, I filled in all the subjects I did in my Bachelor of Business, but of course that's not listed here. So you're still going to have to copy and paste everything else across, but it's really good to say, this is where I started. Now that I've updated my LinkedIn profile, this is what it looks like now, and I'm keeping a backup just in case it gets lost for any reason. Because, you know, if we enter something online, there's no guarantee it's going to be there in the future. So that's the first type of backup. Now, in the slides, you'll see that I recommend a second type of backup, which is where you download your data. Now, I do recommend that you do this every 6 months in the unlikely event that you lose access to your account. So again, we go into here, we choose from the Me menu on the top right of your screen, we'll choose Settings and Privacy. And then on the left side of the screen, we choose Data Privacy. And then in the middle of the top of the screen, the second choice is download your data. So we left click on that, and then we click on that top box and you request the archive. Now, if you're looking for work, it's really good to know where you're starting from. So what's going to happen here is LinkedIn is going to prepare the archive of everything you've done on LinkedIn and send you an email. When you get that email, you must immediately click on the link and download the file. Now, one of the files in the zip file will be a list of all of your connections. And the best way to get any results is to talk to humans. So that list will have the first name, last name, current job, and current company, and the date you connected for all of your connections. So you can go back and say, oh my goodness, there's George. I haven't spoken to George in 3 years. I should let George know that this is what I'm looking forward to going forward. Or you might say, oh my goodness, I remember working with George. What about Mary? I'd like to connect with Mary. And that will give you the impetus to start saying, who else can I add in to my LinkedIn network? Because we all know your net worth is your network, you know, like that's where it comes from, the people you know. So by having this backup of data, you can set yourself some key performance indicators, KPIs, and say, right, I've got 124 connections today, and in the next 3 months, I'm going to get that to 250. And by the end of the year, I'd like to get that to 500, or, you know, whatever your goal is. But you kind of need to somewhere to start. And again, if you lose access to your LinkedIn account, you've at least got some record of who you were connected to before that loss occurred. So that's another helpful strategy. Okay, so 2 forms of backup, and there's those instructions on the slides if I was too quick there for you. Now, the next thing we do is we collect your statistics, because the reality is you're not going to know if the help I give you or any other LinkedIn person or career development practitioner gives you was worthwhile unless your statistics change. So as I said before, the whole goal is to get you to appear in as many search results as possible. So we can write down these numbers, as I said, set KPIs, but also see, is it improving after I update my LinkedIn profile? And I can guarantee you that if you do update your LinkedIn profile, these numbers will be improved. So the first one is the number of people in your network. We are aiming for over 60 and ultimately over 500. We're going to look at your number of followers. We're going to look at the number of profile views you've had in the last 90 days. We want that to be over 100. And search appearances in 7 days, over 50. LinkedIn is monitoring your behavior. So we want you to be doing at least 3 actions a week, starting from a Monday. We want 20 or more votes for your top skills. And we want at least 6 recommendations given and received. So I'm now going to show you where these all are, or you could just click those links and that would tell you. So we're going to go back to your LinkedIn profile, and from the top of your screen, you'll see the My Network button. Now, I don't expect any of you to have these numbers. This is just my profile, and I'm using it just for example purposes because I can't log into somebody else's. So on the My Network tab on the top of your screen, on the left of your screen, you'll see your number of connections. So please, if you've got this open, write that number down. The next thing is following and followers. So if we click on this and then we click on followers, you'll generally have more followers than connections. So you can have 30,000 connections and an unlimited number of followers. So that's just so you know that. This is all free, Raphael, and available on the free account. Everything I'm showing you tonight is on the free account. Great question, though. Thank you for asking. Now, the next one is if you go back to your LinkedIn profile, so you can do that by clicking the blue LinkedIn icon and clicking your face. There's this analytics box near the top of your screen. So this is your number of views per 90 days. So that one we want over 100. And the number of search appearances in 7 days, we want that number to be over 50. So if your numbers are less than that now, what that tells me is that your LinkedIn profile could be optimized and improved with more keywords so that you appear in more search results and you can attract more aligned opportunities. Also, if you click in the middle of the screen and choose Show All, this is where you see the weekly sharing tracker. So it's Monday, and this is the day it starts. And it says, Sue, are you being a good LinkedIn citizen? What we would like you to do is post and add comments. So commenting gives you just as much juice as a post does. So I've put out a poll today, a post, and I'd love you to participate in that if you can. And I haven't done any comments yet. So yeah, it wants me over the course of the next week to do 3 or more. So if you can make your activity on a Monday every week, that's going to help the statistics for the rest of the week. Now we're going to go back to your LinkedIn profile and we're going to scroll down until we get to skills, assuming you've added some skills to your LinkedIn profile. Now what it will do is it'll show you the ones that you've got at the top of your list. If you want to change the order, you can click that pen and change it. But my top 2 skills are LinkedIn and writing. So we can see we've got lots of details, lots of votes for LinkedIn and lots of votes for writing. So just write those numbers down again because your goal is to improve that. And then the last statistic we look at is how many recommendations have you received and how many have you given. So you want at least 6 of each of those. I've got to give a few more to keep the numbers even. So yeah, there's your statistics. And once you keep those, if you update your LinkedIn profile, come back in a few weeks, those numbers will have definitely gone up because yeah, you'll start attracting more people to your profile. Now, this is another little activity for you. And even if you haven't done this yet, or if you have done this, sorry, I'd still like you to go into this part of the screen. So when you create a LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn gives you a URL, unique resource locator on the internet. And if you'd like to connect with anyone tonight, feel free to pop your LinkedIn URL in the chat. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and change it to something else. Now, the best one is just your own name. If that's not available, you can add a number in, you can add your middle initial, you can put a pre-nominal, like I'm a Ms. Sue Ellson, or a post-nominal, my Bachelor of Business. Please don't do anything related to your birthday. And if you've got your old link out there on the interwebs or your old resume or CV, no worries, it will automatically redirect, so you won't lose anything. But the benefit of doing this is it will optimize your name in Google search results, in LinkedIn search results, and in AI results. It's going to look much better on your email signature, resume, cover letters, and it showcases your digital competency. So again, from your LinkedIn profile, so we'll go back to the LinkedIn profile, and on the top right, it says public profile and URL. So even if you've changed it, please click on the pen. And the top box here near the blue pen is where you can change it to just your name. And if that's not available, as I said before, do another one of the variations and then save it. Don't put your business name there. You don't need to put keywords because your personal profile is for you, your name. So that's what we're trying to optimize. This screen is also where in an emergency you can turn off your public profile visibility. You need to make sure your photo is public, and if you've gone to the trouble of filling in all those sections, you want all of those turned on. So that's why I wanted everybody to go in there. So feel free to change that URL, and then email signatures everywhere else, you can update that. Now, here is where I said you can turn off your visibility. Let's say you're making lots and lots of changes to your LinkedIn profile, or you just want to go away for 4 weeks and you don't want anyone to contact you. What you can do from your Me menu, Settings and Privacy, is you can go right down to the bottom of the screen and you can hibernate your account. So I say this to women a lot. If ever your personal safety is under threat, or you end up in a fancy Nancy government job and you're not allowed to have a digital presence, you can hibernate your account. You do not need to close your account. So just remember that's always an option. If you retire, again, please do not close your account, just hibernate it, because usually 6 months after you retire, you've cleaned the oven, sorted out your photos and gone on a few fabulous holidays, you're bored and you want to do something else again. So we don't want you to lose your LinkedIn network. So only hibernate your account when you want to be invisible for a while. Okay. So yeah, really important that you change your profile URL. Now, here are some additional settings, and I'm not going to go through all of them, otherwise we'll be here for, several hours. And I said earlier that I want you to keep your email addresses on your account. Now, the reason for this is it helps avoid creating a duplicate account. The number of people who come to me, because I've got one person had 5 LinkedIn accounts they'd created with 5 different email addresses. But if you have all your email addresses in the back end of your LinkedIn account, you can't reuse that email address and accidentally create a duplicate account. So now that we've got Google Chrome, it's trying to sign us in automatically. But if we have the email address in the account, it signs us into our existing account, not create a new one. It will also help match up connections. It's an alternative sign-in if you lose access to your email address, and you can potentially use that email address to sign in if you lose one of your emails. However, as I said before, social media policy for some government departments, you're not allowed to add it in, so keep that in mind. But also LinkedIn will try and match you up with people you may know based on those email addresses that are in the back end of your account. So you should only ever have one LinkedIn profile. Now, if you have accidentally created a duplicate account, there's some instructions on how to fix that in there. But I will just quickly go into the back end of LinkedIn and show you a little bit more about this email piece. So if we go into, we'll start from the beginning again. So we start off from the Me menu, Settings and Privacy, and we choose Sign In and Security from the left menu. And then the very top choice in the middle is email addresses. Now, if you're looking for work, I encourage you to have your primary email address as your personal one, but all the other email addresses you've ever had, please add them in as secondary ones, even if you no longer have access to them, right? So just still add them to the back end of your account. This also stops someone impersonating you. So that's a good little bit of homework for you. Make sure those email addresses are on your account. Also, if we click in Sign In and Security, I do encourage you to add your phone number in, because if you lose access to email, you can get a code sent to your phone number that is not visible to anyone else. So please encourage you to do that. And I also encourage you to turn on 2-factor authentication. And believe it or not, 3 people have tried to sign into my account in the last 6 months. And the reason I know that is I have this 2-factor authentication turned on, because they want to steal all my contacts and spam them probably. So yeah, I have to make sure that I've got that extra security on my account. Now also under visibility from the left menu, we've got email visibility. If you're looking for work, obviously you want people to be able to see your email address so that they can contact you. There were a lot of people who registered for this event who didn't have their email address visible, so I couldn't message them before the event. But if you're looking for work or a promotion or something like that, you want to be contactable. So make sure that's visible. And also, if you're making lots of changes to your LinkedIn profile and you don't want to broadcast that, here where it says share profile updates, we can turn that one off. So it doesn't say Sue's just got a new job here. And, you know, I choose when I announce any changes to my LinkedIn profile. So I'm just going to pause there for a moment. Do we have any questions? And how are we going? Because this is real back end stuff here. Timothy, you've unmuted. Did you have a question or? Nope. All right. No other questions? All right, I'll just go straight back in then. Okay. So, yeah, please go ahead and do those things. Now, once you start becoming active on LinkedIn, LinkedIn says, oh, we've got a good one here. We're now going to bombard you with emails. And I don't know about you, but I do not want one extra email in my inbox. So I do encourage you to go into the back end and check all your settings, including notifications. So I log into LinkedIn every day. I do not need an email to say Mary would like to connect with me. I don't need it. I'll check it when I log in. So you can go in and turn those off. There's also a whole bunch of advertising data ones that you might want to turn off as well. So definitely every 6 months, do your backup, check all your settings, and yeah, it's update your details as much as you can. So now we're going to go more into your actual profile itself. And believe it or not, up to 65% of the time spent looking at your LinkedIn profile will be spent looking at your photograph. Now, I love this picture of John here. He's over 80. And what we've got to convey is our energy and enthusiasm. It's not about our wrinkles or our hair or our face shape or whatever. Energy and enthusiasm. So I love this picture of Liz because she's wearing a high neck garment and that frames her face. Unlike this guy, we end up looking at his neck instead of at his eyes. So we want people to look at the eyes. Technically, the eyes should be on the 1/3 line. And, you know, like this one here, a bit of hair at the top and head and shoulders in the shot still, smiling with your teeth showing. And if you get that crease on your eye line, even though he's got a bit of a Mona Lisa smile, we can tell that this ex-CEO of Telstra is actually smiling because of those creases there. So that's a clue that people know that you are genuinely smiling. This prop from Keith, his camera, shows that he does video work. This guy from LinkedIn has no clue because we end up looking at his jacket and the logo doesn't even fit in the shot. So I'm not a fan of this. And look, if you're not real keen on having a photo, you can do what Linda did here and put one of these artistic type shots up. But this guy, I don't recommend a black and white photo because in Asian countries, black and white photos signify that the person has died. But this guy actually got guitar gigs from that photo. So that was an interesting one. And this guy looks absolutely ready for work. And, you know, make sure your clothing matches the type of work that you're looking for. And if you take it indoors and you think of something exciting, it will dilate your pupils like it has here with Liz. And you look, again, more energetic rather than outside on a bright sunny day. Your pupils will shrink because of the bright sunlight. Don't take it too close or too far. It's better if it's less than 3 years old. And also, I went to a professional photographer and it took him 70 clicks before he got a photo I liked. So the next time around, what I actually did was I just did selfies on my own phone and I just kept taking loads and loads of selfies on the timer until I got a photo I liked. So if you take 3 photos and say they're all ugly, you've only got 67 to go to get one that you actually like. So please do that. Timothy, I am going to be talking about open to work. So I'll come to that a little bit later in the session. All right, so the next thing is it's a good idea to have a background image. Now you can just have a color or you could have a logo if you've got your own little business or you work for a company and you'd like to showcase them. I've put in my books in my background banner. This is the size of the image that you can put in. You can just put a white image in if you like, because that way it showcases your face much better. Don't make it too interesting, because then people go off looking at that instead. But also imagine what this banner is going to look like if you slide your picture into the middle of the screen. So that's why we put the logo on the right, because on a mobile device, the face slides into the middle of that banner. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is the most important field on your LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to explain why by doing a search. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that I'm a decision maker, and today I am looking for a senior project manager in construction. So I'm going to look for senior project manager construction. And what happens when I do that search on LinkedIn is, and I click on people, I can click on various other ones, but I'm going to click on people. Again, you can do this on the free account. It brings up people. Now, it assumes I've already gone through the people I know, so it's giving me second level connections. But what we can see is in the headline, directly under these people's names, this is where the words senior project manager or construction are appearing. And then if it's not in the headline, it is mentioned in their current job title, or it is mentioned in their past job title. And if we keep scrolling, it's usually about page 3, we find it is in the about or the summary section. Let's see if we just keep going along. Current job title, past job title. You might just have to take my word for it. But if you keep looking, the next level down is the about or the summary section. So if you don't have your keywords in those sections, you are just not going to be found by decision makers. So that's why it's important to fill it in. So if we go back and we look at the headline, my headline starts off with what I call my label. So if you came up to me at a networking event and said, Sue, what do you do? I say, well, most people know me as a LinkedIn specialist. And so the reason I put those words at the beginning is wherever I appear online, those first 3, 4, 5 words will appear on the screen. So I've got to keep reminding people every time you see me, that's what you see and you remember. Because when I was Sue Everything, I wasn't getting any gigs, but when I became a LinkedIn specialist, people started remembering. So whatever is your most important goal, you want that at the beginning. Now, a lot of people will say, put in things like, I make a big difference to change management programs or something or another. Well, they're not keywords. What you want to do is you want to stuff it full of all sorts of other words. So if somebody was looking for a LinkedIn consultant, a LinkedIn trainer, a LinkedIn writer, a LinkedIn educator, LinkedIn coach, LinkedIn author, you know, I come up for all these other versions of that. So we've got 3.5 lines on our screen. It's 220 characters. And if you don't know what words to put in there, you can look at job descriptions, job ads. You can create a free account at myfuture.edu.au. That will tell you what duties are involved in each job, and it will tell you salary ranges, job prospects in that area, the professional association to join, there's career assessments. It's an amazing, amazing website. So if you're in Australia and it asks you for money, just use a Victorian postcode, it'll be free. But I definitely encourage you to check that out. You can look at other LinkedIn profiles, and you can right click on a website and look at the source code behind the website, and you might find keywords there. But your whole goal here is to make sure that you get as many words non-repeating in here that people might be searching for. Scam job vacancies on LinkedIn. Yes, that is true, Calvin. I applied for a role just last week and it said we want trainers to work for this organisation. Then they sent me a memorandum of understanding saying, oh, you've got to do it all for free. And I wrote back and I said, are you paid for your job? Why do you expect me to do this for free? So you really have to investigate every single job. And this is why my #1 strategy is not to rely on jobs that are advertised. because up to 90% of jobs are not advertised, Calvin. It's a very scary figure. But since AI has come along, it's got worse because no decision maker wants to write an ad, get it approved, publish it online, pay for the ad, and then get all these AI generated resumes that are not suitable for the job. So if you can create a LinkedIn profile that attracts the decision maker to you so they don't have to advertise the job and they can just call you up and say, Calva, would you be interested in this opportunity? That's what we're aiming for here. And the second thing is, I would encourage you to network and speak to people and say, hi, my name's Calvin. I'm looking for A, B, and C. Is there anybody you can recommend that I talk to about that? So you get referrals, you networking and referrals. And that's the second best way, you know, to get a job is if you don't attract it, to network and get the jobs to come to you. You can see here in my headline, I've also got capital letters at the beginning of each word and only commas between each one. So yeah, stuff it full of as many keywords and you will see your appearances in search results increase. Now, the next section is the about or the summary section. And there's a lot of argument amongst LinkedIn trainers. Should you write it in the first person, the third person? So first person is I. Third person is Sue, or the second, or the no person, which is started here, went there, did something or another else. It's entirely up to you. If you're more of a, this is mine and I wrote it and I want it to be more personal, use first person, no problem. But don't use the word I too often. If you're like me and your content could be used elsewhere, I've written it in the third person because I want people when they read it to be able to copy paste it elsewhere or to be able to remember they're reading about Sue, not themselves. Because if I read I'd say it was me, but it's not me. Now, you can write a long narrative. Don't use the AI tools to write it. It sounds terrible. But what we need to do again is get your keywords in there. So you can list your keywords in these little headings: professional skills, technical skills, personal skills, industry experience, international experience, where you mention the countries you've worked with, and interests. And then again, when people read it, particularly on their mobile phone, it's nice and easy to read. And we want to avoid any punctuation. We want to have lots of white space, pop in a little bit of our personality, include a call to action. But we do not, under any circumstances, need to mention our years of experience because the algorithm works that out. If you were there or you were there for 10 years, well, you've got 10 years experience and no worries. So you just say, I have extensive experience in the areas of A, B, and C. And that also helps prevent against ageism. Now, my LinkedIn profile is not written like this because I do consulting. So you'll see in my about section that mine's slightly different to this, and please feel free to look at me as often as you like after this, but I start off with my name and post nominals, and I want people to reach out to me, so I've got 2 email addresses in case one doesn't work for any reason, and my phone number, and then I put in links to the fact that I charge and my main message, and then there's, you know, more stuff there, nice and easy to read, and there's my third person bio. Now, I do have Carmen's permission to use her account as an example. So this is an example that's like what I've said in the slide there, where you put your name and your contact details. She's just started up her new business, but this is what I mean by listing all your skills, then your technical skills, personal skills, industry experience, and then she's got a first person bio, and don't forget your top 5 skills you want to add to that as well. Okay, so really important that you do the headline. Like, it's, if you learn nothing else apart from changing URL, updating your headline, this webinar will have been worthwhile for you. And if you can do the about section, terrific. Now, this is what is going to take the time, and this is where I have the most difficulty with students and clients, because I warn them that it takes up to 10 hours to do this. And again, this is a job I have with spectrum analysis, and I have their permission to use it as an example so that you can see how to do it. So I don't just write my job title for every job. I write the job title and a bunch of keywords. So that's really important. I write achievements in past tense, which is anything I did well or over and above what I was originally hired for. And then I write tasks, even if it was for a previous job, in present tense. Because if you read Sue can do this and Sue can do that and Sue can do something else, it's much better to say Sue used to do this. So that's why I write that in present tense. I put in a little description of the organisation and how to reach me there. Then I link to some YouTube videos in this case, but you could link to websites or PDFs or whatever. And then I nominate my skills. So you need to do this for every job or every volunteer experience you've ever had. Now, obviously, you are not allowed to use commercially sensitive information. So if you save the company $1 million, you wouldn't say that. You'd save the company 24% of annual revenue or whatever it was. So you can use percentages, but list things in priority order. Try and tell the story, because this, again, helps you appear in more search results, and that's our goal. If you're not in search results, you're not going to get the opportunity. So if you don't have time to fill in all the bits, at least put the keywords in your job titles. But the more of this stuff you can do, then the person reading it can make a decision as to yay or nay whether they'd reach out to you and consider you for that career position. Education. In all my years helping people with LinkedIn, there's only ever been one person who mentioned the subjects they had done in their university or tertiary education section. So talking about Carmen again, Carmen started university at Monash University and did 3 subjects there. She didn't like studying there, so she moved to La Trobe University and she did her full course there. So both of those are listed on her LinkedIn profile. So even if you've only partially done a course, you can just mention the subjects. What I've also done to optimize it, if I was going for a board position, this subject here, business ethics, talked about governance, risk and compliance. So I've mentioned those as topics that were included in my degree. And I've also listed my skills and put a link and so on and so forth. Now, I don't want any of you to think the only way to get a job is to get a formal qualification. People like it when you are willing to learn. So if you go to your local library and you get a local library card, you can get access to LinkedIn Learning, a whole bunch of incredible, amazing short courses, completely free. And I had one client who went from $150,000 a year in one industry to $150,000 a year job in a completely different role, just by doing free and low cost courses, or what they call micro credentials. So don't think you have to get an MBA or a PhD to advance your career. You can just do these little short things, add them to your LinkedIn profile, and that's just as good. And also you can fill in the courses section if it's a short course as well. Now, as I said before, once you've filled in your profile, you can nominate for all the skills that you've selected for all these sections. So if I've got a skill in LinkedIn, I can tick the box for my about section. I can tick it for my experience. I can tick it in education. I can tick it for most of the things on my LinkedIn profile, because I've used LinkedIn in most of my work. So I suggest, first of all, you fill in your profile, and then you come back to the skills section and you tick wherever you've used that skill throughout your entire career history. So really, really worthwhile. And yeah, don't forget to endorse your friends for their skills as well. Now, believe it or not, there are more than 27 sections to fill in. And I say more than 27 because within some parts of your LinkedIn profile, there are extra bits. So these are just the main sections that they'd like you to fill in. So again, if our mission is to get you in results, search results, we need you to fill in as much as humanly possible on your LinkedIn profile. And if it's awards, make sure you fill in the awards. Even if you're a previous member of an organization, still put that in. The easiest one to add in is languages. So you can all say English. You've got professional capacity for that. I did French at school for 5 years. I've got elementary proficiency for French. The only ones I haven't done are patents because I don't have one, and I didn't use the career break option. So they're the only two I haven't filled in. So feel free to, again, look at mine to see how it's done. So we assumed we've set up the back end of our LinkedIn. We've filled in our profile in detail. So now, once that's done, it's time to get out there and make it work for us. So as I just said before, endorse people for their skills. It's good for the database. It sends a notification to that person. So if you're reconnecting with George and you've voted for George's skill, George will be notified that you've voted for his skills. And so that's a good little wake-up call. George, I'm still kicking. Hopefully they'll come back and George will vote for your skills. You can also choose learn more about a skill, and your goal is to get at least 20 or more votes for your skills. Really good thing to do for your colleagues, even before you leave your current role. It's really good to do that rather than after you've left a job. Do it whilst you're working with people. People appreciate it when you endorse them for their skills. And of course, it's a good idea to write recommendations. Now, obviously, you've got to be connected with the person. And the format I use is I suggest that you say, I first met Victoria at such and such. I observed A, B, and C, and I like to wish Victoria all the best in the future. Unless you work for an organisation which says you must not provide recommendations, which when I was working for Westpac, I was not allowed to write references for other employees. So please abide by any social media policy, and anything you put in writing can be used in court. So don't say somebody was fantastic if they weren't. Just say they were good at A, B, and C, which is what you've actually observed. And don't be afraid to ask for recommendations, because I'm quite sure none of you woke up this morning and said, I'd like to write my best friend LinkedIn recommendation. I'm quite sure none of you did that this morning. So you need to ask for them because people don't think to do it. But if you do, give the person some clues as to what you would like them to talk about in the recommendation. And likewise, if you've decided to write a recommendation for someone, be strategic, pick someone who's really well known, so it gives you more views. But also contact them and say, hi Mary, I'd like to write a recommendation for you. What would you most like me to talk about in the recommendation? And then, that's going to help too. So don't worry, it's never too late, no time's wasted, but definitely they're 24/7 endorsements of you. So they're really, really helpful to have on your LinkedIn profile so people can make that assessment about you. Then when we get into the news feed, the algorithm wants us to engage and create conversations. So when you hover over the like button, you can tick thumbs up, celebrate, support, love, insightful, or funny. The support one apparently gives us the most brownie points, but regularly engage, that's going to be helpful. And also make sure that you add some comments. So as we saw before with that weekly sharing tracker, LinkedIn is monitoring, are you being a good citizen and adding comments? And you might have noticed that we can get views on our comments now. So if you don't feel like posting content on LinkedIn, you can just add some comments, and that's going to let people know more about you. And for every post that you put out, make sure you do at least 3 comments, or 12:1 is a great ratio, but at least 3:1 is good. And I'm always solution focused, and I don't try and poach anybody from a post either. So just be careful about that. Now, if you want to share content, there's various ways to do that. I don't have time to go into all of that tonight, but I do want to show you that when you click on in here, so it says video, photo, or write an article, if you click in this box, start a post, and you click the plus, you've got all these choices. Now, polls do well, and adding a PDF document like a PowerPoint presentation saved as PDF, they do really well, as does short form portrait video. So if you're trying to build your brand, the poll, the document, and the video are great ways to do it. And you can also schedule your post for later. So they are really good. if you write an article and you've got over 150 followers, you can create your own newsletter, which means that anybody who connects with you will be invited to subscribe to your newsletter. I put out a newsletter once a month. So there's lots of content options nowadays. But what I'd also like to encourage you to do is click the notification bell on people and companies. So let's say I wanted to go back to working at Westpac. So what I would do is I would follow this organisation. So I'm already following them. So then I look at their page and then I click the notification bell and I choose all posts. So that way I can see what's going on at that organisation and be more likely to be engaged with the content that they share. But likewise, if I like what Carmen does, I can do this for individual people as well. So we click on that notification bell. So if you know there's key decision makers in your industry and you want to keep in touch with what's happening, this is a really great way to curate your own news feed by clicking that notification bell. And if you do start publishing content, once a month is enough. Once a week is better. 3 times a week is your absolute maximum that I would recommend. Now, any content you share needs to match your audience, add value, be aligned with what your main message is, and your goal is to stop people scrolling. So if you'd like to check this one out later, what I did was I ran a poll and then I used the poll to create this slideshow, and then I shared the slideshow. There's all the links, and then that's the blog I put on my website. So I got quite a lot of coverage out of this particular poll that I put on. But what we seem to know is that if you get early engagement, lots of reactions and comments, and people start having a conversation, then your content is likely to go further. But just going viral doesn't guarantee results. I had one video that had 5 million views on LinkedIn and I didn't get one call. So it's not the best way to get work. Now, I'm conscious that I said I'd aim to finish by 8. So I've got 3 minutes to scroll through the rest here. So when you have updated your profile, you can turn on open to work. And when you do that, you can pop 5 job titles in, you can set up job alerts. And if you're applying for a job through LinkedIn, you can attach a PDF document. And I suggest you create what's called an application, which is one document that you've tailored specifically for this role with a cover letter and resume, all designed for that role. It takes time, but all of my clients who've done that have got interviews. So if you really see something you really love and you're applying through LinkedIn and you can attach a document, I suggest you create that application. But utilize LinkedIn alerts, follow your target companies, look at Google Maps, look for organizations that are near where you live and start following those and reaching out to employees in those organizations and say, hi, I'm a local resident looking for a role in such and such. Is there anyone you can recommend that I speak to? So it's called an informational interview. It's not, hi, sir, please give me a job. It's, how can I get a referral to someone else? So if I ring up and I speak to Roger and Roger says, speak to Joanne, then when I speak to Joanne, I say, oh, hi, Joanne, Roger said blah, 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 and Joanne's going to be much more likely to talk to me. Again, do your LinkedIn learning courses, reconnect with people you know. Now, if when you've turned on open to work and you turn on this all LinkedIn members, you get the green frame. I'm not a huge fan of the green frame, but if you've updated your LinkedIn profile and you turn this on, it will create a post for you to share saying, you know, Sue's now looking for A, B, and C. And you can edit it. If you use that functionality, one of my clients got 4,000 views overnight just by letting that post go out to their network. And even a post that says, I've just finished my job here and I'm looking for something else, those posts do really well as well. But if you do it through this open to work feature, it goes gangbusters. But any job search strategy, as any career development practitioner will tell you, is you do multiple things all at the same time. So you do networking, you go to events, you apply for jobs online, you reconnect with people you know, you ask for referrals, you know, you do all the things, talk to family and friends, everything. You can also turn on providing services. So I'll let you do that in your own time. You can put 10 service types, really good for business owners. Is it a good idea to add your boss manager on LinkedIn? Absolutely, Hamad. Yes. Click with all your colleagues and vote for their skills. Love that idea. Really, really good idea to do that. So yeah, any colleagues, add them into your network. So when you're out and about, you can use your LinkedIn app on your mobile phone. You press in the search box and you press the little squares on the right-hand side and it brings up your QR code. So from now on, my 3 favorite words, please connect with everybody you meet using the LinkedIn app. If they're a VIP, you can click the notification bell and then also set yourself some connection targets. So every event I go to, I aim to connect with at least 3 people, but also on your My Network tab, LinkedIn will say, these are people you may know, right? So you can go through this list and connect with these. So if you're really in job search mode, I'd suggest you try and aim to connect with about 100 people a week. Yeah, that would be fine. Okay, now the final thing I'd like to show you is about searching. And if you do a Google advanced search, this enables you to search the entire LinkedIn database. So you just go to that link there, put whatever keywords you want in the field, you choose the website LinkedIn, and this is unlimited. It will never stop you from doing more searches. So one of my clients was part of an IT business that he owned, and he wanted to find accountants who were based along St Kilda Road in Melbourne. And I showed him this, and then he connected with all those people. I never heard from him again because he was able to connect directly with people who were aligned with what he was trying to sell. Now, I should obviously say, is it worth paying for premium? If you have not updated your LinkedIn profile, there is no point whatsoever in paying for LinkedIn Premium. Just paying for it won't guarantee better results. But if you have filled in your LinkedIn profile, you will appear in more search results. You can personalize every invitation to connect. Apparently, you will appear in more search results. I can't prove that, but I love setting up the away message on your inbox, and you get 15 email messages a month, and you can access LinkedIn Learning in LinkedIn. You don't have to use your library card. So I have the cheapest version, which is Jobs and Careers. It's about 300 Australian dollars per year. It is a tax deduction, but if you sign up for it and you don't cancel it, they keep charging and you cannot request a refund. So be warned if you do go down that path. Now, I'm happy to stay for as long as you like with questions. Here's what I recommend that you do next. Connect with everyone you meet, fill in your profile and do the backup every 6 months, your stats every 6 months, review all your settings every 6 months, update your LinkedIn profile from tonight within 2 weeks, and obviously regularly in the future as well. Engage weekly if you can with the content in the news feed, post either weekly or monthly, decide on the open to work or providing services or research objectives you might have, and focus on what works for your goals, whatever you're trying to achieve. Now, normally my services are $195 an hour, but I'm happy to, just for turning up, you can save $50 if you book your first session before the 15th of May. You don't have to do it this week, but if you contact me, Sue Ellson at sueellson.com, and say, I'd like a one-on-one, what I'd like to suggest is you fill in as much as you can first, so that way I can really, really tweak your LinkedIn profile and give you some very specific strategies. And I can even, if you've filled in your profile, I can recommend you to people in my network. But I can only do that if you have filled in your profile, because I don't want to give people half the story. So as I said before, I would enormously value your feedback via an evaluation form. This is nice and quick and easy to fill in, completely anonymous. And it will also be when you exit the webinar, you'll see this pop up. So feel free to just add in a few comments. think of the 3 things you'd like to do from now, and if you'd like to share that in the chat, or when I turn the slideshow off, you can tell me what your 3 things are, or just what you found most helpful. It's nice hearing from you as a participant. And if you'd like to say thank you, you're welcome to write a review, hopefully on Facebook if you're on Facebook, because that gives me Bing reviews in Bing search engine. So that's why I like Facebook reviews, or a Google review, or just on my website, or follow me on social media. So that's the slides. So I'm now going to open up to any questions, and they can be anything related to LinkedIn, careers, business, whatever you like, or you can make a comment on what was most helpful to you. I'm all yours. And it's only 8:06, so we got through what would normally take 2 hours in an hour and 6 minutes. So well done. Thank you, Raphael, for your comment there in the chat. Are there any other questions? Heaps to work with. Absolutely, Scott. And so if you can do it within the 2 weeks, I find that if you don't do it within 2 weeks, most people don't do it. So really important that you try and get it done in that time. And only 2 hours a day. Like, don't try and do it all on Saturday until you die. Like it's not worth doing that, because it's hard work to remember what you've done in the past. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Thank you for showing up, of course. Woody Allen says 80% of success is turning up. And I can assure you there's a lot more people who registered than have turned up live. So hopefully they'll be watching the recording. Yeah, it's really good that you've turned up and given yourself this opportunity to learn more about LinkedIn from somebody who's been using it since 2003. Any other questions? I will chat to my boss about booking you for a group session. Yes, I definitely do that as well. Our team of career practitioners. So one of the organisations I work for is Directioneering, and they do outplacement. And I've definitely done group sessions. And these were people who thought they knew a lot about LinkedIn. Most people think they know a lot about LinkedIn, but once you dive into the mechanics of it, and optimizing it for search appearances, you realize that it's way more powerful. So, do I wake up each day excited to scroll through the feed for an hour and a half? Hell no. But do I wake up each day excited by what could appear in my inbox or what person is reaching out to me? Absolutely, I do, because my profile is working for me 24/7, 365. It's really doing that very, very well. So, yeah, and I'm an educator at heart. So anytime I get the opportunity to educate people about it, I like to do it. I've also tried, like, when you go to a free webinar and they say that's in my book or that's somewhere else or you'll have to pay for a session to get it. This is not like that. I've given you the exact thing I give my clients and the people who come to paid workshops. So, yeah. Are job ads filtered via AI systems? And do we need to use AI tools for document to real or transmit the keywords relevant to? Okay. I can't guarantee exactly what tools are used by either LinkedIn or by employers. Obviously, I don't have the intel on that. If you look up Brew 360, BREW 360, there is some data because apparently that's some platform that LinkedIn has incorporated into the back end. I am not a fan of AI, and I have been around a very long time on the internet. 2001, I first started publishing content online. And the reason I don't like AI is it's too generic. So what AI has done, the robots have come in, they've scraped all this fabulous information off the interwebs. And what they've done is they've put it all into a data set. And then the results that come out of that data set are based on probability. So the way I like to explain it is the cat sat on the, and most of us would say mat. But if I'm a writer, it could be on the chair, it could be on the roof, it could be on the leaves underneath the autumn tree. I mean, it could be anything. So when you get an AI version of a resume, it sounds like every other resume you've ever seen, and people can pick it a mile off. So you've got to look manually at the content in the job description or the job ad and what's in your profile and make sure the words match up and it's using the language that was used in it, but making sense in your own words and highlighting the skills that are most relevant. So you can get AI to maybe check it later, but AI puts in a lot of garbage that you don't need. Now, the other thing is we've got to remember that even if AI did the scan and got you in search results, when a human looks at it and there's all this crap text on the screen and it's not easy to scan and absorb the information, again, they're going to throw it out. And also, there are actually people now putting spelling mistakes in their resumes and stuff because then they think that, well, people will believe I wrote this because there's a spelling mistake in it. I mean, my goodness, how absurd is all of this? I mean, it's crazy stuff. So I have used the AI tools on LinkedIn and they're all crap because they don't put enough keywords in. So look, if you need help, can I please suggest you save yourself a lot of time? And I'll give you another example. This person I knew, their parent died, and one of the siblings in the family coerced the other parent to change their will. And so this person was using ChatGPT to try and work out how they could stop this from happening. And they spent days, weeks, hours trying to solve this problem. And I said to this person, why don't you just ring a lawyer, right? And so they did. And the lawyer said the parent can do whatever they want. And they could have saved themselves all that ridiculous time wasting it on AI, because AI tries to give you the answer you want to hear, even if you say, but give me the truth and I want the hard facts, and it still gives you what it thinks it wants you to hear. And this has been my experience through multiple different types of queries. So please, yeah, I'm not going to encourage you to use AI. Also, make sure you've read the LinkedIn user agreement, because if you're using AI to scam information off LinkedIn and LinkedIn finds that, you can lose your account overnight, and that's not going to be helpful to you either. You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, well, if there's nothing else, as I said, as you leave the seminar, there's that little workshop evaluation. Please give me your feedback. I will be putting this recording on my YouTube channel and on the website. So if you want to sit there and play, pause, and go through it, you can. Also on my Sue Ellson website, I'll just show you, there is a whole bunch of free webinars and recordings. Let's get out of this here. So if we just go to presentations on the sueellson.com website and you choose webinars and recordings, there are all these other webinars that are focused on slightly different topics that you can watch for free, no logging in, nobody is tracking you, nothing. It's got all the slides there if you want the quick and dirty version. So yeah, feel free to check out any of those as well. So yeah, plenty of things. And don't forget, if you do book an appointment with me, happy to offer you a $50 discount just for turning up and listening to the webinar, because I love an action taker. It's really good value. All right, no others? All right, thanks everyone, and bye for now.